Hello, and welcome to Immigration Talk, a space where we hear from an expert on matters related to the immigration industry, law and policy, and practice. I'm Rosalie Van Staldeinen, and joining me is immigration lawyer Joel Sandaluk. Welcome, Joel.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Joel, the big question for today is, will authorized representatives even have a job in 5 years?
The short answer is yes. The longer answer is that there's really two components to that answer. The first component relates to law and policy. Right now, Canada is at a point where immigration is contracting. The government is restricting programs, restricting eligibility for many types of economic immigration, as well as temporary immigration, visa students, that sort of thing. And so the concern that a lot of practitioners will have is whether the reduction in the number of immigrants and the number of temporary residents will have an impact on the pool around which they can build their practice. And I've gone through this a few times over the last 25, 26 years, and I'm pretty confident the answer to that question will be no. The reason why is, even though last year, for the first time that I can remember, the population of Canada has decreased, what often happens is when immigration is wide open, when applications are more plentiful and clients are easier to find, the stakes are a little bit lower for those individuals, and the fees that we can charge for that type of service tend to be a little bit reduced. When immigration becomes more and more restrictive and the stakes become higher, people tend to value the service that an authorized representative can provide. They tend to be more likely to seek out representatives who can assist them in their immigration applications or other matters. And they will also pay higher fees because, frankly, the service has that much more value to them. So in the past, when immigration has become restrictive, as it does periodically, what happens is that even though the number of files might contract, the value of each of those individual files tends to expand, and the work is always available. And it reminds me of something that somebody said to me when I was back in school. It was an older practitioner had been asked, whether or not it was a good idea to even get into immigration as a field of practice. And this, you have to remember, was back in the late 1990s, almost 30 years ago. And he said something that stuck with me, and that is that there will always be room at the top. And what he meant by that is that when somebody provides a valuable service for their clients, whether it's, frankly, a thorough, carefully prepared application, careful insight, careful planning, or what have you, there will always be work for that person to do. So when a representative is doing something that has a meaningful value for their clients, and when they're offering that service and providing it, what often happens is more work will find them. So the thing that you've always got to remember is that there will always be more people trying to get into Canada than there are representatives there to represent them. And the other thing is that if you provide a quality, meaningful service to those people, there will always be another person waiting to hire you. And if that work gets harder, if the process gets more restrictive, your fees will increase to reflect the extra effort that you're required to make in order to provide that service. And you'll be fined one way or the other. And then in the future, what will inevitably happen is immigration will loosen up, it'll become less restrictive, and you'll still be able to work in, albeit a slightly different way, but the work will still be available to you. So I'm absolutely confident that no change in law or policy will essentially eliminate this field of practice. The other component to the question, though, is about technology. And technology has been changing dramatically over the last 20, 30, even 10 years, with more and more online services, online resources. What's often happening is that the way that we practice in this field becomes different. And what happens is we're able to do more and more with fewer resources. And one of the biggest changes that's coming is the advent of artificial intelligence. And it's something that we use a lot in our practice. It's something I can see my clients using a lot. And one of the concerns that a lot of people come to me with is, will this affect the ability of us to do our work? Because more and more clients will simply be able to use AI to complete their own applications, to assess their own eligibility, to gather their own research or what have you. And essentially authorized representatives will be cut out and no longer necessary. And my view of that is actually a little bit different as well. Um, AI is an incredibly powerful tool. It's something that we use a lot, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or Notebook or AI Writer. It can be used very powerfully to leverage your time, whether it's for research, whether it's preparing documentation or submissions, or even corresponding with clients. What it is it represents a powerful tool that can really drastically increase your effectiveness as a representative. And the concern will be that anybody can use it. But in my experience, not anybody can use it. You still require human knowledge, human experience. You still need to have the ability to essentially tell your stories clients and understand your clients in the terms in which they come at you. And simply feeding questions and answers into a bot or into an AI isn't going to allow you to express your clients' hopes or fears or concerns or even decision making in the past in terms that an officer or a tribunal will be able to understand. So although I do think AI is drastically changing this area of our practice, I do think it's changing the way that we represent people and the way that we work on our files. I think that we all have the ability to leverage this new, very powerful tool and provide even better service for clients than we would be otherwise. It's one of those things that if you understand the area of practice that we're in, if you understand the policy behind it, if you understand the decision-making process, and even your sensibilities of a decision maker, what you can do is you can use this resource to have a massive impact on your clients, a massive impact on your practice. And the other thing you realize is that clients who often don't have the same skills and insights that you have won't be able to leverage AI in the same way. And what will often happen is, you'll be able to come out ahead because you can still bring something to this table that your clients aren't able to bring by themselves. And it's something that they will largely be able to recognize on their own without you telling them. So I'm not really concerned about AI putting me out of work. I'm not really concerned about it putting anybody out of work, frankly. I think what I am concerned about is that AI will allow me to do my work better, whether it comes to preparation of application, preparation of documents, even creating an index to an application is far, far easier than it ever would have been otherwise. Whether it comes to proofreading or other components that AI can improve, what will happen is it'll improve my ability to provide a valuable service to my client. And that'll feed back into my main point, which is to say that as long as I'm able to provide a valuable, meaningful service, there will always be work for me and there will always be work for anyone. And to the extent that AI allows me to increase the value of the service that I'm providing, it's not going to put me out of work. If anything, it'll improve my ability to get work and improve my ability to do what I continue to do and to do it in a way that is better than I've been able to do it up until this point. So, if I were speaking to somebody who was just getting into this area of practice right now, rather than somebody who had been a quarter of a century into it like I am, and if they were to ask me, does it make sense to get into it now, given everything that's happening, both politically and from a policy perspective, as well as from a technology perspective, whether you should maybe do something else, my answer would be to say no. This is absolutely a field full of opportunity, and it's a field that will change. And so getting into this field, you'll need to be ready to make changes. Need to be ready to be resilient in the way that you practice and adaptable to new technology, new policy. But you will always be able to provide a valuable, meaningful service. There will always, in my view, be work for you. So the short answer, again, is no. I think there will always be work for designated representatives, whether it's 5, 10, or 20 years down the road from now.
Well, thank you, Joel, for sharing your perspective on the future of immigration in Canada, but also the impact of that on authorized representatives. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Let's talk again.